Well, howdy, nearly senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. Hokey smokes. Last night it was really cold when I went on walkies, freezing, and then when I came back home and had to do some stuff, I had to go out at night just before going to bed, and it was snowing. Snow everywhere. There was even a car outside that was having trouble getting around. I live in southern Shelton. It's very hilly. And oh boy, it was oof. And then this morning, it's been warm. In fact, it sounded like it was raining when I woke up this morning, but it was just the melting snow. Such is life. Thumbs up and front loading of videos. Hey, if you could toss me a like, that'd be very cool. If you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be awesome. If you could leave me a comment, that would be double plus good. And I would like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. These are literally beautiful and literally awesome people that are helping to keep me and my aging pet metabolizing. We both appreciate that to no end. If you would like to become a patron and help keep me and my aging pet metabolizing, I have links in the video description along with a PayPal for possible donations, an Amazon wishlist link that I have to go through and double check to make sure there's pet food on it. And thumbs up for that. Thank you very much, and front loading of videos over. Oy vey. I did sleep last night, and that's good. I don't move, and so I get sore. And so normally when you sleep, if you are a little bit sore because you've been on one side for too long, you come to half wakefulness, you move, and then you drift back into sleep. I have to come to full wakefulness and go, oh my God, that hurts, and then roll over and then try to go back to sleep with that pain. I just don't move when I'm asleep. Thumbs up. Past that though, it is a brand new day. I'm still fighting motivation. Yay, fighting to find motivation, not fighting against it. Still though, life is life. Yesterday I did get some stuff done, had some falling asleep issues as I do every single day. At least I got some recording done. I've wanted to do some recording of solo RPG things again. I've got one that I want to do. It's a much more streamlined, simple, introductory type thing. Very, very basic. But because of that and its cheap cost, I want to show it off because just to demonstrate, you don't have to play anything as deep and in depth as Four Against Darkness or D100 Dungeon or even Note Quest Expanded World. The dungeon solo thing, it's simple, basic, and yet it's a role-playing adventure. So thumbs up for that. Past that, I'm taking a look at my list to see what else we have. Before I do my speaking on the creative endeavors that I've been working on in my life, I want to try and talk about some other things that I didn't have a whole lot of actually doing yesterday. But one of the things that I do talk about a lot is in Minecraft, is in now, with the caves update that they've had, the game has finally caught up with this other game called Block Story, where the world has been hollow since forever. It used to be even more hollow. They took out part of the hollowness. I don't know why, but it's gone. So now it's still very hollow, and then just keeps getting hollower. And Minecraft is now, oh my God, I've been going into just one cavern in Minecraft right now, and it is terrifying and gigantic. So, oof, I'm very glad that they've been doing that. But one of the things is, in the game, I call it just a hollow world, and how the world is just plain hollow like a sponge. I talked in that last one I did about how the caves and twisty and little tunnels are like what they do in some of these caving videos that I watch. Some of them I can watch, some of them I can't, because if they're too tight and cramped, I just ugh. I am mildly claustrophobic, and I couldn't do that sort of thing. But yeah, it's both bizarre and amazing because the world underneath our feet is hollow. There's this one channel called the Action Adventure Twins. I mean, they do have to travel some distance. The last video that I watched of theirs, they had to walk through the woods for an hour and a half to find this cave. Well, not find, but get to it because they knew about it. but it was a hole in the ground that was a literal hole. The further deep you got into it, the more steep it became, until it opened up into not just a cave, but a pit over 100 feet deep, where if you start to slide and fall, that's it. If you can't catch yourself, you're going to go woo, and then 100-foot drop down into the rocks. That right there does the trick for me. But even they were going like, oh, I'm kind of freaked out about this, because they brought huge ropes. They tossed this rope down and it opened up full 100 feet. So the guy's going down on his own and watching, and there's this waterfall where it's like maybe this much water if it was a pipe about this big with water, but going down this hole, you go right through the waterfall. They got soaked going down. And it's just, once again, the world beneath our feet is a honeycomb sponge. The further that they go, the more it's just, if you dropped here, you would just go clunk, 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 clunk. I mean, you're not going to have a straight fall. There's blocks and pieces, but it just keeps going down and down and sideways and down. Wherever there's the path of least resistance that water can grind its way through, it does. And it's constantly grinding new places. When you look at how they're traveling through some of these, I've mentioned this before, and I find it terrifying, because when they get underneath the ground, you discover that the plates that they're on are like a big sheet plate of rock. But this big sheeted plate of rock is only connected in like 3 spots to other pieces of rock. And these other pieces of rock that they're connected to are big sheet plates that are only connected in 2 or 3 other spots to other rocks that are other sheet plates that are only connected. And it's like, oh my God, no wonder we have sinkholes suddenly opening up underneath places. If you just have one of these things start to fall and it's broken enough, everything comes down. Oh my God, the world underneath us is absolutely hollow. Years and years and years ago, I read and watched this thing on the early internet about these people who had gone caving in an urban area. Literally urban, because they were in a downtown type area, but they found a little hole in a cave and they pushed through it. And it went a couple 100 feet and ended up downtown about 15-20 feet underneath a 7-Eleven. So they just pushed and crawled their way through this and found the opening, a natural opening in the rock in town, 20 feet underneath the 7-Eleven. They had to determine where it was afterward. It wasn't just a one-time thing. They made it for a time a little meeting area, kind of fun, but I can't imagine they did that forever. One of the other reasons that I would not be able to go caving, even though I am no longer really arachnophobic, and I have been arachnophobic most of my life, that has largely dropped away in the last couple years. I'm no longer afraid of spiders as spiders. I think they're absolutely amazing creatures. I'm glad I have them in my corners of my ceiling here. Not many. In fact, I can't even see any right now because of the cold weather. I know there's been one back there. I don't know if it's there now. But I think they're awesome. But when you go caving, there are spiders everywhere. And some of the videos they show is they're crawling through these tight little tunnels where there's spiders everywhere in these caves. I'm no longer afraid of spiders as spiders, but I have a human fear of creepy crawlies. I don't even occasionally like to look down and find like a moth on my arm. I'll freak out about that. It's like, ugh. And so, yeah, I don't want to go through a cave where there's like lots and lots of spiders you got to go crawling around with. Ugh. Not to mention the fact that some of these people, when they're going through these caves and recording it, like the one person who was going through a tight tunnel that had water in it, where, yeah, he had to keep his head at its side as he crawled through, because if he turned his head this way, the water would have come up to here and he would have drowned. So he had to crawl through with his head sideways with the water up like this to get through the tight tunnel where you're pushing through to try and get in. Especially since I've seen so many videos talking about people that went caving on their own, like idiots, you should never do, but went out caving on their own and then part of the ground fell in on them. Oh my God, and then you die underground, slowly. So what else do I have on here? Oh yes, yesterday I believe it was Conspo Lopez in the comments was talking about how they'd accidentally muted their headphones, and so my video yesterday where I had subtitles, it was like, oh my God, had I just done this in silence and then subtitles? While that would have been funny. No. And in fact, I was kind of irate because I wanted to try out this speech-to-text thing on Wondershare Filmora. And I went and converted the beginning part speech-to-text. Not a great job. You need to go through and edit it, but I thought it was funny just to leave it unedited and all goofy. But you get 1,700 free seconds, and then you gotta buy more time. Toxic capitalism. Yay. Because it's in a product. It doesn't have to go anywhere else and do any other thing. It's in your product. And they'll give you a little free time. But then you gotta buy more time. You're not gonna buy the app. You're just gonna buy more time. And then when that runs out, you buy more time to use the function that's a part of the program that you've already bought. Of course, they don't sell it anymore. I'm one of those people that was lucky enough that I bought it way back when outright. These days, it's all subscription service. You don't buy it, you pay for it for a month. And I talked about this with my therapist to some small degree, and I'm going to talk about it here because it was something I was thinking about last night when I was out on my cold walkies up to Walmart and back. As much as I love science fiction, fantasy, and horror, some of the writers that have affected me the most through my life as I've been reading, while they may have semi-fantastical backdrops, most of them haven't. One of the books that I've really loved a lot is The World According to Garp. If you've ever seen the movie, it's ancient. It had Robin Williams in it. It was a pretty good adaptation of the book. As a story, it's not much. It's about a guy. There's a bit of background before he is born because his mother has relations with a person who was brain damaged in the war, whose name was Garp, and began losing their ability to say anything but their name, and then eventually died. But she was with him and had a son, Garp. And it's just the story of Garp growing up, and then becoming a gym teacher, and then, not to spoil the movie, but at the end of the movie and the end of the book, he gets shot. And the book and the movie end without you knowing if he's going to live or not. And that's the story. He's born, he lives, and in his 30s, he gets shot. That's not a very fantastical story, is it? But oh my God, if you read that book, if you watch that movie, they are both absolute tearjerkers. Stories just about people, individual people like that. As much as I love the fantastical settings, it's that sort of thing. Speaking of which, though, on a semi-fantastical setting, another book that I love that's like this is the book Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. That is written amazingly as well. Yes, it's set in the backdrop of a war, Yes, you get to see some actual, absolutely horrific things. Like you discover that one of the people that looks like just a background character is, because of their absolute smuggling, blackmailing, mafia type operation with the war, they are actually worshipped as a god by some of the native tribes in like the Pacific and South, and it's just insane. But it's a story about one guy who discovers one truth about the universe during the war, and it's just his efforts to try and stretch out his life and not die. Just a guy and his life. These things are the things that really get me. That's why, as much as I'm trying to make this a fantastical setting with the inside, outside, razor's edge stuff, as weird and awful as I make these settings, when I zoom in on what's actually happening, I'm trying to make them individual stories that don't even need the fantastical backdrop. Like the story of Iron John in the Razor's Edge setting. He's a guy who gets displaced through time of 1.4 million years. And even though it takes place in the Razor's Edge, it's a story about a guy who has to figure out that you can't carry a ball of pain, of grief with you into the future. And it will paralyze you. And the only way to move forward is to put down that ball of pain so that you can move forward. And that's his story. The fantastical setting, you could strip it all away and just make it a normal story about a guy who, well, gets displaced from their life, and they can't drop the mourning until they are paralyzed. And on the cryptid settings, the same thing. These are just individual stories about individual people when you zoom down in with something where they're either broken and crushed by life, or they managed to survive for just a little bit longer. It's a fantastical setting, but the individual stories themselves are just about people. And that's the good part. That's what I'm trying to do. So thumbs up on that. I did want to talk about some of the stuff about my setting, because I've got some good stuff that I wanted to talk about here, but I don't really have time. So I'll save that for tomorrow. And I've opened up 24 hours worth of comments in my community tab. I'm going to go through and thank however many people have left me comments in the past 24 hours. It's never many, not anymore. That's okay though. Anything more than 0 is like thoroughly awesome. So thank you, each and every one of you that watches my videos and then leaves me comments. Nobody's forcing you to do this. You do this of your own volition, your own free will. Thumbs up. Thank you. It is appreciated. Now, if I mispronounce a username, no disrespect is intended, and you're seeing how my brain works, so even though I count American Sign Language, who knows how well I'm going to actually do this. We have Jesse Koskinen, who has been doing photo editing and learning photo editing, so thumbs up. What sort of program are you using? Is it like Photoshop? I've tried using Photoshop in the past. I can't figure stuff out. We have It's RELYT, thumbs up and thank you. Lumina, yes, caving is terrifying, absolutely. And for the advice that you gave me on the Minecraft stuff, please, thank you. That is greatly appreciated. I don't mind backseat driving and kibitzing. I look at more as we're playing it together. So thumbs up and thank you. We have Confused Owl 29, who I sincerely hope that you will end up somehow feeling less isolated and alone. Thumbs up, thank you very, very much for your comments. We have Flora Mew, thumbs up, thank you. And yeah, that whole itchiness thing, because you itch once, you start to think about it because you're scratched with increased blood flow from that, and then you're thinking about it, so it starts to itch more, and the next thing you know, you're on an endless cycle of just scratching, and it drives you crazy. Thumbs up and thank you. We have Conspo Lopez, thumbs up. There is Shaw, greatly appreciated. And that's it. That's it. 7 people who left me comments in the past 24 hours. You get me out of my head, into the world, and dealing with real people, if only for a short time, and if only in text. Thumbs up. Well, hokey smokes, it's still Sunday, and I was going to put my computer parts together today. I went and took a look at the instructions for the CPU chip and the motherboard. There's no thermal paste. They don't even mention thermal paste when installing the chip on the instructions for the chip. But you need thermal paste. So I can't even put my machine together because I don't get paid for my disability until this upcoming Friday. So I'm going to be purchasing some thermal paste. So it's going to take another week and some before I can even think about getting it put together. Yay. Hopefully you can get done the things that you would like to get done. That would be thoroughly awesome. And of course, the people getting hurt where you are, please take appropriate precautions. If people are getting sick where you are, please take appropriate precautions. And really, there are no precautions that you can take. If you're out walking and you hear the mournful howl of that bus horn, the bus with your name on it, it's hunting you. It's going to hit you. It's such an impact. Your corpse is going to splash. Of course, you only become a corpse as you splash. And, of course, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and quite frankly, that is indeed a very good thing.